Hey everyone, welcome back to the Honda Civic build. Currently, as you know, we are building a EG Civic with a K24 and a big turbo. In the last episode, we built a charge harness for the alternator, starter motor and battery to power the car. Up next is doing the upgraded fuel pump, as we're running a turbo, bigger injectors, so the fuel system needs to have more pressure. So now I'm going to attempt to actually remove the old fuel pump and the housing out of the tank, and we're going to upgrade it to a bigger fuel pump. I can't remember which fuel pump I ordered. I'll put it up on the screen. Also, if you guys are new here, make sure you subscribe. We've actually grown a considerably amount of people over the past few months. Last year it took me a whole year to get 200 subscribers, and we're already at 300, and we're not even halfway through our second year. So that's been massive for the channel. I've got a lot planned. I've just been waiting on some parts that are on back order, some drive shafts and a few other things, but there's not much left to go on the Honda Civic build. I have a plan for things in the future with projects, and I've actually started working on some hobbyist level design of engineering, like intake manifolds and that. So I'll be covering future videos on how to do CAD drawings and production of certain things like that. So if you guys are keen as well, make sure to subscribe for that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's get straight into the video. So as you can see, I've turned the Civic around for this episode and for a next episode where we're going to be upgrading the tail lights, as I don't really like these orange tail lights, and I've got some other ones that I'll be fitting. But you can see it's very dusty, but pretty much for the fuel pump, what you're going to do is, I've got a whole lot of rubbish in here that I'm still fixing up, but you got to remove the back seats if you got them. But in my case, that's the fuel cover down there. So with a few Phillips heads, it should be, remove that cover, and then we can get into the next part of removing the sender. So I've gone ahead and removed this cover, and I've removed the plug that goes into the sender. It's quite easy, it's just a little tab. Up next, we're going to have to remove these lines. I would like to replace this line down the future. It's getting a little bit hard. I'm going to try and get this other fuel line off, but pretty much it's all these 10mm bolts, and then the sender will come up, and then we can go ahead and fit the new pump. So I finally got the hoses off. This one is just you just push the little tabs in and it releases backwards. Quite simple. So now I've got to try to land the sender into this bucket here. I've got these rags just in case, but when you are working with fuel, especially in an enclosed space like in the back of a car like this, that's why I got the rear door open or window, and I've got the door behind me open just to let the air flow through, as you can start to get a bit sick and get a headache from the fumes. But now the challenge is landing the sender in the bucket without spilling much fuel. Now the big question, is the tank rusty? The tank looks good. There's a bit of lacquer kind of stuff from the fuel sitting for a while, I think that is. There is a little bit of rust, but very minimal, I think. I can't tell if it's actually rust, it's probably just a bit of sediment. So when I pulled it out, there's actually a custom bigger pump in already. This was an ex-Targa / track car. It did have a B16 in it, a 1.6 litre. We're putting a 2.4 litre with a turbocharger on. So what I might do is I might search up how much this pumps, and then we can see if it's actually viable. So just after searching up the number on the side here, this is a 250 LPH, I think that's litres per hour, which if you go off this chart that I'm going to pop on the screen, this seems to be an okay pump for the power that I'm wanting to make, as I'm wanting to make around 300 to 400 horsepower. I wouldn't trust the table or chart all the way, but still close enough. I have got a bigger pump. I think I've got a 460, but if I do have any issues with this pump in the future, I will swap it over to the bigger one. All I need to do now is actually swap over the filter, and that's it on this pump. Pretty much, if you guys want to pause the video and have a look, or that's pretty much it. All you need is like a bit of rubber hose that will go in the pump and sit in fuel, so it needs to be submersible. Also, if you are upgrading your fuel pump, you got to be aware of how much the stock wiring can handle, because your wires can get fairly hot and start to melt, and then when you have heat and melting in the fuel tank plus oxygen, it's an explosion. So you got to be aware of that. That's very important when you're putting a bigger fuel pump in, because the demand for power will be higher. So you need to upgrade the stock wiring system. But yeah, let's go ahead and swap over the filter, and then we can go ahead and chuck this back in the tank. So now we've got the new filter on the pump. It is a different shape and style filter, but it all bolts in the same. In the future, if I do need to upgrade this pump, I'll probably be looking at getting another one of these just to be sure, and I'll get the same size, but this size here will do. But yeah, let's go ahead and chuck it back in. So now the pump's back in, we can fully bolt down that cover, pretty much ready to go. All you got to do is test it on the ignition, make sure you're getting fuel to your injectors, and you're pretty much done. So the injectors I'm also going to be using is 1000cc injectors, so the fuel pump will be able to pump enough fuel for them to operate correctly. I did run over a fuel system and how I've routed it in previous episodes. So not much left to go on the Civic build till we actually get it on its first start. Up next is maybe doing the exhaust and creating a base map, which I will run over. Working on cars sometimes is a little bit tricky, as you got to expect the unknown. I didn't actually know it had an upgraded fuel pump in it already, otherwise I wouldn't have ordered a fuel pump, which kind of sucks. But if you guys do have any questions, make sure you drop them down in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to answer them, or even send videos to help out. But yeah, if you guys are new here as well, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.